So you had a big impact with your front wheel on a curb or an obstacle, or you dropped your bike kind of hard, and now your forks and your handlebar are twisted and they are misaligned with your front wheel. Well, don't worry, it's an easy fix, and I'll show you how on today's episode of Easy's Garage. Okay, so before we move to the motorcycle, I just want to explain why your forks and handlebar can get twisted. So this is the front end of your motorcycle. It consists of your handlebar, the triple tree, which consists of a lower triple clamp and your upper triple clamp, your forks, your wheel, and your wheel axle. And all these components are held together rigidly, so when you do turn your handlebar, all of them will turn together. Now, the upper triple clamp and the lower triple clamp, they can rotate independently of each other, and the only reason they don't is because they're fastened tightly to the forks. However, when you hit a curb pretty hard with your front wheel, or you drop your bike pretty hard, the upper triple clamp and the lower triple clamp can rotate slightly different amounts, and when that happens, your forks will be misaligned, and even a tiny amount here will result in a pronounced misalignment at your wheel, which is why when you look down from your handlebar, even though your upper triple clamp and lower triple clamps are only misaligned slightly, your wheel may be misaligned quite a bit. Okay, so luckily, this is pretty easy to fix. Your front end and your forks, they naturally want to be aligned. And the way to fix this is to just loosen all the fasteners that are holding these components rigidly. So loosen your wheel axle right here, loosen the lower triple clamp fasteners, which are right here, and then also loosen the upper triple clamp nut, which is right at the top here. We'll pump the forks a bit, so let all the components get aligned together, and then we'll tighten up all the fasteners. Okay, so let's move to the bike now and let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna start by loosening these pinch bolts, which are 6 millimeters. So you're gonna need a 6 millimeter hex bit. Then we're gonna loosen the wheel axle itself. You're gonna need a 17 millimeter hex bit, a big one. If you don't have this, you can use the nut that's under your pillion seat. Every Himalayan 450 will have that nut, and that nut will go in here, and that's a 24 millimeter nut. You can then use a 24 millimeter spanner or a 24 millimeter socket, and a big nice wrench to crack this loose and loosen it. I'm also going to loosen the brake caliper fastener, these two, and you'll need a 14 millimeter socket to loosen this. The caliper is connected to this bracket here, which is part of the forks. So if your fork is misaligned with your wheel, the caliper would have shifted a little. So loosening it and then tightening all of these up at the end will bring them back in alignment. Okay, so all of these are sufficiently loosened. Let's move on. Okay, so next we're gonna have to crack open this upper triple clamp nut, which is right here. But to get access to this, the handlebar is getting in the way, so we're gonna have to remove the handlebar. It's quite easy to do. They're just four fasteners, one, two, three, and then one here. So you're gonna need a 6 millimeter hex bit again, and then take out these four fasteners. Okay, so these upper clamps will come out with the fasteners, the two of them. Okay, so I've just moved the handlebar out of the way, so I have easy access to this nut. This, you're going to need a big T60 Torx bit. These are pretty big, so not many people will have this in their toolkit, but you will need this. And this is torqued up pretty tight. I think it's torqued to 90 Newton meters, so it's going to need a lot of force to undo it. So you need a nice big wrench as well. Okay, so I've cracked this loose. We don't want to take this off completely. In fact, I'm going to turn it back clockwise again until it just stops turning without any force. So it's loose enough but tight enough. Okay, so now we're ready to loosen the lower triple clamp fasteners, which are hidden right here. The two fasteners there, they're 6 millimeter fasteners, one for the two for the left fork, and The same two for the right fork. There they are. So we're going to loosen this again. We don't need to take them out. And one thing to note is we're not going to loosen the upper triple clamp fastener. So again, the two on this side, there's one on this side and then one for the left fork. We're going to leave this tight. The reason being, something's got to support the weight of the front end. And so if you loosen this as well, then the forks will just slip out of both the triple clamps. Okay, so I've loosened the lower triple clamp fasteners quite a bit. So the lower triple clamp is not holding on tight to the fork. And same on the other side as well. The right fork, I've done the same. So now it's time to pump the forks. By pumping the forks, everything will want to naturally align. So the lower triple clamp, since it's not clamped onto the fork, it should be able to rotate slightly so it aligns nicely with the upper triple clamp and the forks as well. And since the wheel axle is also loosened and the brake caliper is also loosened, by pumping the forks, everything will fall into alignment since everything's kind of loosely fastened. Just be careful when you're pumping the fork, since the handlebar is out. Don't use the handlebar to press on it. I'm gonna just put my weight on these handlebar clamps and then try to pump the fork. Okay, that should be good enough. And now everything should be in alignment. So take a look, you do a visual inspection. And if at this point things are still not aligning, it still looks twisted, then it could be that something is truly bent, like your forks could be bent or your axle could be bent. It depends on how hard of a fall you had or how hard of a hit you had. So then that'll need further inspection and possible replacement of the part. But if it was just a regular fall or regular hit, then by now everything should be aligned, and now it's time to fasten everything up together. So we're going to start with snugging up this fastener. So we're going to use a wrench and tighten it. We're not going to use excessive force because doing that will cause the forks to rotate the clamps to rotate independently of each other. Remember, the lower triple clamp fasteners are still loose, so they're not gripping onto the forks. So if you apply too much force on here, whatever we just got into alignment will go out of alignment quickly. But we do want to snug it up more than finger tight, because since the lower triple clamp fasteners are still loose, and while we were pumping the forks, there's a chance that the fork has caused them to move, the clamps to move slightly away from each other, right? The lower triple clamps are still loose. So we do want to make sure everything is held tightly together. So let me go ahead and snug this up with a wrench, but not use excessive force. Okay, so that's snug. And so I've just make sure everything's nicely seated together. Okay, so now it's time to tighten these lower triple clamp fasteners, both for the left fork as well as the right fork. So I'm going to just use a regular wrench and snug them up first tight, and then we'll come back with the torque wrench. Okay, so now it's time to torque up the lower triple clamp fasteners. So grab your torque wrench, set it to 20 Newton meters or 15 foot-pounds. And then we're going to torque these up evenly again. So if you torque one up, the other one will get loose. So I'm going to torque one, then I'm going to torque the other one, and then I'm going to go back to the first bolt again and torque it up, and then go back to the second bolt again and torque it up. So I'm going to do that evenly so it grips on evenly. And for these particular fasteners, I would highly recommend using a torque wrench, even if you might be an experienced mechanic, because these are components that we really don't want to over torque, because you might damage the forks. Okay, low triple clamp fasteners are torqued up to spec. Now let's torque up the wheel axle. So again, set your torque wrench to 70 Newton meters or 52 foot-pounds. Okay, let's torque up the pinch bolts as well, the axle pinch bolts. So again, 6 millimeter hex bits,
and torque wrench set to 25 newton meters or 18 and a half foot pounds. And again, since they're two fasteners, torque them up evenly. So torque one up, then move to the other bolt, then move back to the first bolt, and then move back to the second bolt. So make sure they're evenly torqued up. Okay, next let's torque up these brake caliper fasteners. Torque is 45 newton meters or 33 and a half foot pounds. And now we're ready to torque this nut up. Again, your T60 Torx bit, and this is going to be 90 newton meters or 66 and a half foot pounds. Okay, the last thing to do is just put the handlebars. So just get these two clamps that we removed earlier. I haven't torqued them up yet, but I've tightened them just enough so it holds the handlebar in place. And the way to get the alignment right, there is a little dot on the handlebar on the left side. So that is supposed to align where the upper clamp meets the lower clamp. So that dot should be there. That's how it was from the factory. Obviously, if you have tilted your handlebar to personalize your setup, then just keep a note of how it was before you took out the handlebar so you can put it back the same way. So now I'm just going to torque these four bolts. Again, I'm going to torque them up evenly. And this is again 20 newton meters or 15 foot pounds. Okay, we're all done. So that's how you straighten twisted forks and handlebars. Now go for a ride, make sure everything's aligned. And if your bike is still veering to the left or right, make sure to check your rear wheel alignment as well, because that could be off. Hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit the like and subscribe button and share this video with your friends. Until next time, it's your boy Easy signing out. Take care, guys.